Six for Sixers podcast. I am your brother, your host, Creek in the building, and I have already decompressed, so I'm good to go. Sixers season is over. Season ending loss to the Knicks, 118-115. Sixers it came back to Wells Fargo Center and just did not have enough to overcome the heart and soul and passion that the Knicks played with. And you have to tip your hat to the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, Hartenstein, the whole team basically, OG Anunoby. They just wanted it more than the Sixers wanted it. And we have to, as Sixer fans, be honest about that. And sometimes that's a lesson you got to learn as a team is that sometimes, and especially in professional sports, if you don't appear to want it, then the other team's going to take it from you. So that's what happened. The Knicks wanted it more, and they deserved to win that series, absolutely. The Sixers played catch up most of the series, and they just didn't deserve it. And the games that we did win was just like by the skin of our teeth. The Knicks dominated in the fourth quarter. They played better. They executed better, and they hustled to the ball. This game was very much marred. Our whole season's been marred with just lack of effort, inconsistency, and injuries played a big part of this season. A very frustrating season, and in many instances, a lot of fans are probably relieved because we no longer have the stress of worrying about what the Philadelphia 76ers are doing, and we could just kind of enjoy basketball if we still watch it. I don't particularly watch a lot of basketball. Professional, well, I probably will now that the Sixers are out, but when the Sixers are playing, it's enough for me to just watch their games and not watch a whole bunch of other teams. But the New York Knicks advanced to play the Indiana Pacers, and they deserve it. Jalen Brunson went absolutely bananas. But this is the Six for Sixer podcast. What we do is we analyze the game in 6 points. And point number one is going to go to Tyrese Maxey. 46 points in the last game, 17 points today. Just was not anywhere near what we need him to be to win a big game like this. He was 1 for 6 from 3, did not shoot well. 6 for 18. Not a great shooting night. I will say that the referees were not very receptive to his driving to the basket. He did not get the same calls that Jalen Brunson would get going to the basket. He got bumped a lot and did not get the calls that Jalen Brunson would get. So that was pretty much noticeable in the game. That being said, he still didn't shoot well, still have to play through and have to play better than that. And Maxey is obviously, we talk about, I compared him a lot to Brunson, especially during the All-Star run, because I thought that Maxey could be in contention to be one of the starters the way he was playing. And they had some very similar statistics, but you see the difference. Jalen Brunson is just a stone-cold killer. And Tyrese Maxey is not right now. It's inconsistent. He may give you 46 one game, and the next game he'll give you 17. Brunson will give you 40 points pretty much consistently, what he did against the Sixers. So that was proved that Brunson is just a better all-around player than Tyrese Maxey right now. He's the centerpiece of the Knicks. Everything goes as he goes, and he went. He was big time for them, and it allowed the whole team to eat tonight because the whole Knicks starting roster was in double figures in scoring, and they just played great together. So shout out to them. Maxi's got to play better. And Maxi, one thing I like about Maxi, he's very young. He's a hard worker. I have no doubt he's going to go off in the offseason and just work his butt off, come back even better, maybe be a starter in the All-Star game next year because he has that kind of potential. So just keep working on getting better and see him next season. Point number 2, Tobias Harris probably played his last game as a Sixer. 0 points, 0 for 2, only shot two baskets, which is ridiculous. To only put up 2 attempts and didn't make any of them. He didn't even rebound tonight. 4 rebounds. He played. I don't know if I didn't see him play. He was out there playing defense, but he was basically a non-factor. And I think that Tobias made some comments earlier about in the season, the beginning of the season, in the last off season, talking about being a crumble cookie and getting traded for a crumble cookie, casual fans. But in the biggest moments, he just has not really produced. And this was the biggest moment. This was one of those games where we really would look for him to bring something to the table. He brought nothing to the table. So he's definitely probably not going to either get re-signed, or if he does, it'll be for a really reduced rate. He's not going to get that max contract that he did get. He did well getting it, but it's probably not going to get another one from the Sixers. So point number 2, Tobias Harris, 0 points. On top of him, Kyle Lowry also 0 points, but we really don't depend on Lowry to score. We do depend Harris. We need Harris to give us at least 15, and he was not able to come even anywhere close to that. He just looked non-existent out there, watching Embiid or watching Maxey and not really knowing where he fit in to the offense. Point number 3, I'm going to give that to Buddy Hield. And then that's going to roll into point number 4. But shout out to Buddy Hield. Buddy played a really good game. 20 points, 6 for 10 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, 4 rebounds. Buddy played an excellent game. So you got to tip your hat to Buddy. I'm glad he got that experience to have a good game like that in the playoffs. And if not with the Sixers next season, it just sets him up career-wise. I think Buddy Hield is a really, really good player. And he deserved that opportunity to come back. I'm glad he got the opportunity to come back in the playoffs, because in the previous games he had only gotten 7 shots off and he made 1 for 7. And that's just not enough to allow a player to shoot through. And I wouldn't even consider it a slump. Only 7 shots. He didn't get an opportunity, got pulled for campaign and never came back. So Nick Nurse decided to extend it to him today, and he made the most of it. So shout out to Buddy Hield. That's point number 3. Point number 4, going into Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse just flat out got out coached on so many levels. Defensively, the Knicks had a plan. You could tell what the Knicks were doing every game. The plan this time was to limit Maxey. They even let Embiid, Hartenstein, and guard Embiid one-on-one. Embiid got almost 40 points, and they allowed that because not Embiid did his thing, but they guarded one-on-one. They did not focus on Embiid because then it allows them Maxey to go off for like 46. They decided they were not going to let Maxey go off like that for 40-something points. And when they guarded Embiid straight up, they really threw everything at Maxey. And you saw a plan there. For the Sixers, Nurse, you never really saw a solid plan. You just saw a lot of switches on Jalen Brunson. But the real plan should have been to make sure those other guys don't go off on you, like Hart, DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby. Jalen Brunson got his 40 even when they put maximum effort into guarding him. So why wouldn't you just try to shut the other guys down? So I don't know. It didn't seem like it was a fluid defensive scheme. And then on offense, it just looked like a lot of standing around. Not a lot of movement, not a lot of other guys getting involved. And that's how you get Tobias Harris, 0 points. Kyle Lowry, 0 points. Paul Reed, and I'll get to Paul Reed. But point number 4, just Tom Thibodeau just outcoached Nick Nurse flat out. Just was not a great showing by Nurse. Got to be real about that. And we also got to be real about Doc Rivers was heavily criticized for not making out the second round. But here we have Nick Nurse, who did not make it out of the first round. So is he going to get that same criticism that Doc Rivers got for not being able to take the Sixers out of the deeper into the playoffs? I think he should. I know it was a rough season with injuries and all of the things that happened this season. You had DeAnthony Melton, who was a big piece for us last year. He couldn't get healthy. Rocco never could get healthy. Embiid was a fraction of what he normally is. So I understand that there was a lot of ups and downs with that, but the Knicks had some ups and downs too. And Julius Randle out for the season, and he was a big piece of the Knicks roster as well. But Thibodeau coached through and came up with a better plan than what Nick Nurse had. So I don't know what Nick Nurse is probably going to be back next season, but just proven to be inconsistent. Along with that, we just didn't know what the rotation would look like. I don't know why Nick Nurse pulled Buddy Hield for so long. Games, but Hield could have been playing in the other games that we really could have used his offensive firepower, and he never got the opportunity. And I like what Lowry brought to the table. Not Lowry, but Campaign. But I thought that there was an opportunity to play Hield and Payne and Lowry together. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's how it works. The rotation got to drop to 7 people. But I just felt that I didn't understand why Hield didn't get another opportunity, and I didn't understand why Reed got all of the opportunity, and we couldn't see Mo Bamba in the playoffs. I felt like Mo Bamba would have contributed a little more than Paul Reed did. Paul Reed was just terrible, which is my next point. Point number 5, Paul Reed. Paul Reed gave the Knicks ample bulletin board material saying that he wanted to play the Knicks because they were the easier team. And I guess in comparison to playing the Celtics, they are the easier team, but that's not something that you should say. And we all know that. We've all heard athletes being asked that question, who do you want to play and who do you want next and all that. And nobody answers it like, oh, yeah, we want this team because that's the easier team. Paul Reed is actually the first person I've ever heard answer it like that. And he was just straight up. And I guess in your mind, you're thinking, yeah, you want to play the Knicks in the first round instead of playing the Celtics. But it's not something that you say because you're going to make somebody angry. And he made Jalen Brunson angry. And I do believe the Knicks played with a little more intensity against Paul Reed. And Paul Reed just had another donut. He just didn't contribute anything. And not only did he have a donut, he was pushed around. He fumbled the ball around. Sixer players set him up with some easy passes, some easy looks, and he just was not able to capitalize on any of it. He's not a great shooter. He's not a great post player, and he's not wildly athletic. So it was just a bad statement to make, and I think it came back to haunt him. I think that's a lesson learned. The next time you just be quiet. Just play the game. Don't worry about it. We've seen guys ask that question all the time about who they wanted to play, and most professional players always say it doesn't matter, or we just want to enjoy this moment. We're not worried about who we have to play next, or we're just going to plan for anybody, or we'll be prepared no matter who's next. But no, Paul Reed had to say we want to play the Knicks because that's the easier team. Came back to kill you. That's point number 5. Point number 6, I'm going to go with the rebounding. We've said it all season, and that's coaching. You got to give that to the coaches, that the rebounding deficit was just it wasn't that much difference in terms of Knicks had 48 rebounds, Sixers had 46. The Knicks had 20 offensive rebounds. And it was just like every time the Knicks missed, you just did not have confidence that the Sixers were going to pull the rebound out of there. And the Knicks got 2 and 3 chances at the basket during critical moments. And you can't give NBA players 2 or 3 shots at the basket. They're going to make 1 out of that 3. And that's what the Knicks did. They took advantage of it. So I think that the Knicks capitalized on that. Sixers rebounding. Part of it was Joel Embiid, who was a big rebounder for us. Couldn't get any lift. And he just was not able to box out the way he should have been able to. And also, you got to give credit to the Knicks. Very scrappy. Embiid had 13 rebounds, but then the rest of the team, Batum had 7, and the rest of the guys was like 5 and under. And the Knicks just dominated that. You know, you have the Knicks on the Knicks side, 9 for Anunoby, 9 for Hartenstein, 14 for Josh Hart. How did Josh Hart at 6'4" get 14 rebounds? Mitchell Robinson, 9 rebounds. Just a lot of heart, that's all. Just heart, no pun intended, but heart, getting to the ball, scrapping, and not settling. So that was a killer for us. Where do we go from now? From now, I don't know. We talked on the Facebook page that the Sixers, I think they have 3 players under contract, which is Paul Reed, Joel Embiid, Ricky Council just signed like a 4-year deal, I think. And Maxey probably going to get re-signed quickly, hopefully. I don't know what's going to happen in the offseason, but Sixers got to really look at making some serious moves. There's been a lot of talk of a Paul George. There's been a lot of talk of a LeBron James or Bronny going to Villanova and Bron playing for the Sixers. I don't know, but I'm looking for something big. I'm not looking for LeBron James or Paul George, because to me, those guys are pretty much past their prime. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to bring. I don't even know if we need players like that, A-listers. I think we need better supporting cast, more reliable supporting cast. But in any event, a lot of our season going to hinge on if Joel Embiid stays healthy. If he comes back after this, he might actually demand out of Philly. I wouldn't blame him, because they, year after year, I mean, he's injured, but it just doesn't seem to be a winning culture. And so he might opt to go somewhere else. So that is the 6 for Sixer podcast. I'll see how I'm going to post here. I'm definitely going to take a little break, because there's nothing to talk about until we get into the off season. But this was a very emotionally draining season for a fan. And I can understand the fans being frustrated with the team, because the team just wasn't consistent all season. So we'll see in the off season. Thank everybody for your viewership and your comments and your likes and your views throughout this season. Please tell somebody about the podcast. We definitely going to expand it next season to get some guests on the show, and to also upgrade the backdrops and get some new microphones and all of that stuff. But we're going to just do it bigger and better. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that stuff. Invite a friend to the group. And we'll see what happens with the Sixers. But always go Sixers. I've been a lifelong fan since I can remember playing basketball. And, growing up, I always was a Sixer fan. Never liked any other team and never will. So it's a life thing for me. And we'll see about next season. Hopefully we can get a deeper playoff run next season. All right. Peace out of here. Go Pacers. Thankfully, Milwaukee Bucks got beaten in the first round. Pat Bev, bye-bye, is just as well. And hopefully Harden gets knocked out of the first round as well. But go Pacers. Please put the New York Knicks in the gutter. And really, for their fan base, put them back in the gutter where they belong. Because they were just the most trashy group of people, trashy fan base that I've ever seen in a long time. So let's really beat them down, get them out of here. And see you next season. Like, share, comment, subscribe. And I'll post here when we have Sixer news, but only when we have Sixer news. So probably be some fallout from the game from in comments. We'll see what Embiid says every season in the post game. He always says something controversial. So we'll probably see. I'll probably post sometime tomorrow or the next day. All right. Peace, y'all.